Um, so he talks about, like, I thought was interesting as we kind of touched on it a little bit, was having less kids, and which equals a longer life expectancy.
I think part of that was just like the cultural change. Like it wasn't so much that like we decided to have less kids, which kind of it was because of the rise of like contraception and abortion and stuff like that. But I think it's just culturally more acceptable because of new technology that makes it so we don't have to have as many children. Like to run a farm it takes more children than to run a business. So like culturally it's kind of the same thing. Like life expectancy goes up with wealth, and we need less children as we use more technology, type of thing.
That makes sense. I mean, you think about like your parents' generations, and they have like my parents have like 6 to 8 kids in their family.
Right. And even before that, it's like 14.
Right now, it's just my brother and I.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like with the rise of new medications and technologies, that also increases life expectancy.
Right.
And that's being more well distributed throughout the world.
Good. I think it's interesting. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask if you guys agree with that. Like, if you think that an increase in money or like expectancy should, or like with technology and stuff, do you still like? Do you like? I know it's kind of like a different subject, but do you think that like having children should be like decreased?
Like having more kids decreases life expectancy?
Like how you guys were saying that with
like how culturally it's more acceptable to have less kids. I think it's just the time. Like I said, I mean, you don't need as many kids. Like for my ancestors, they ran a farm and stuff, and they.
Oh, it's still going.
It's okay. Like they had like 12 or 13 kids because they needed people to milk the cows and stuff. I think today, it's almost healthier to have less kids because first of all, the toll that it takes on the woman's body of having kids, that decreases life expectancy. Just stuff like that. I think it's all just cultural. I don't think it's right or wrong.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think also because, like, especially in America, we're moving towards a more individualistic society. It's all about me, me, me. So someone that's focusing on themselves isn't going to want to have 16 kids. Nobody wants to. Unless you're Mormon. But, like, that's not only affecting families, but just jobs and just the economy.
I agree. There's also something interesting I learned in my psychology class, is that like there's been proven fact that married couples live longer versus like a single person living alone, or that boyfriend and girlfriend living together. But married couples live longer. So I think which is interesting because our society also is looking less at marriage and is cohabitation and just dating and not settling down. So I think that also could contribute to a shorter life expectancy, which is interesting that having less kids equals longer.
So do you think, yeah, I get what you're saying. So do you think like the health, like we're really more healthy than we think we are, and our life expectancy is way far up there. But if we were to keep like the cultural stuff that brings life expectancy up, it would be even higher, the life expectancy, because we're kind of like weighing it out. Like yes, it's still above where it used to be, but it could be so much further above.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see.
I don't know if this goes off or not.
I think it's
it goes. Okay. I don't know if, like, I'm curious to see if there's one on life expectancy and marriage with kids. Like, if that is different. If having kids helps or hinders life expectancy when you're married.
Right.
Marriage life. So I think that'd be interesting.
That would be cool. I have a question for you guys. Like, when he was showing us the graph and like how it all moves and how we're all going in the same direction, do you think eventually like we'll get to a point where we're all in the same place? Like, do you think Africa, like he said, Africa's kind of like, the problem area? Do you think Africa's eventually going to get up to where we even are now? Or are we just going to keep getting ahead of them and then just never really end up in the same place? What do you guys think?
Well, one of the graphs that he did show like had that. Like all the countries that were spread out started coming up, and it was like a quicker movement.
Yeah, like a steeper slope is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But I think my prediction is maybe that like we're never really gonna end up in the same place. But I think after a while it's gonna start leveling out. Because I mean, do you think?
Because you know, like how all the great cultures, like Rome, they all collapse eventually, and we're reaching that point. Our society is falling apart. So eventually, people are gonna leave the United States. That's just the reality of it.
Right. And so like the United
So
States,
that's gonna change everything.
totally. And that's like one part of it though, is the United States. Do you think like the entire graph, like we're all going this way? Do you think it's gonna switch and we're all gonna decrease, or do you just think the U.S. is gonna fall further behind?
I think we're just gonna fall further behind.
I think so too. I mean, look at prehistoric times and look at where we're at now. Throughout like history, everybody's been increasing. It's just who's been increasing faster and more
And it's
powerful.
always very
It's true.
Yeah. And I feel like we're all like there has to be one country in the lead. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, like what we talked about the other day in class, like with the world developing theory. I don't remember what it's called, but it was talking about how it kind of reminded me of like the government system and like checks and balances. Like we had the first level, and that was who was that was like the leading country, and then the other countries in the second level were producing for the leading country, you know, and then the countries below that level were giving the tools for the middle country to produce for the big country. So I just feel like as far as that theory goes, and I do think that's fairly accurate, I think we're going to keep on. I don't think it's going to level out. And also, just thinking about Africa and people there, like, the video was in, like, 2007. Like, it is decent, like, it is pretty old. But I think where Africa is now, and I haven't done, like, research on it, but it just seems like they are very happy people. And whether or not they have the economic stability, I wouldn't say that necessarily matters in that situation. Yeah, they have like lower life expectancy, and it's sad that they have these conditions that are bringing that down. But just thinking about how happy they are, and he was saying how, yeah, the culture is probably the most important because it brings the most joy, and they have such an awesome culture, and I think that's important to recognize.
Yeah, and that's the goal that like that kind of ties into how he was saying how the U.S. always focuses on the money side of things. We're always ahead when it comes to money. Well, I guess not anymore, but you know what I'm saying. We're always ahead on like economics. But as far as health goes, like it's not something that we put a lot of emphasis on. More than other countries, definitely, but not like we're more focused on money than we are on health. And I think that's really interesting because, I mean, I don't know. If you guys were to classify the people of the United States, would you say we're happy?
Well, overall,
Like compared to
not
other
really.
countries who even have less than we do.
Right.
I don't think that
I
we're
think
very happy
sometimes
people.
I think other countries view us as like a happy, prosperous country,
But that
but
determines what, because that's all subjective. Because some people think one thing will bring happiness, and people that live in those third world countries, they think, oh, they have money, they must be happy.
yeah.
But
But at the
because
same
they lack
time,
that, they find other things.
yeah.
But we look at them and say, oh look, they have family, they must be happy. You know, because our
it's
families are
all
falling apart. It's
different.
all different. But like overall, like just like the joy in our lives, I think that we're a lot less happy, which is kind of funny that we focus on money so much and they don't.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to the whole individualism thing. Because as a culture, we're always about bigger, better, I want more. And so that just sets expectations. And when those aren't met, happiness decreases. And that's a huge thing with our culture.
Okay. Well, we have 30 seconds to kind of wrap this up. So overall,
Yeah, so his main point was the seemingly impossible is possible. And I think it's true. Yeah.
It's just true.
I agree with that too.
Live long and prosper.
Yes, but I do think that they have to have an overall goal. Like if if the impossible is possible, then we can't just expect it to happen. I think there needs to be
You have to make it possible.
Yeah.
You have to
Sorry,
do it.
I'm
You have to make it
stumbling
happen.
over my words.
For sure.
Got it.
Alright, sweet guys.
Yay!